You're listening to the Gab Street Podcast, Columbus, Ohio's #1 podcast for underground talent. Every week we have new conversations with interesting individuals who contribute to the Columbus economy and its lively culture. You may find just what you're looking for right in your backyard. Let's get right into it.
Fuck you. I just wanted to do that.
My edit's gonna be totally messed up. Why would you do that? Welcome to another week of the Gab Street Podcast. We are literally Gab Street this week.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
I think the first message you ever sent us was like, hey, it's like my name.
And I believe we've been mistaken for you before.
Yes.
Once.
Really?
Yes.
The very first time we met Joseph Keith for the very first time outside of Declassified, and she was like, hey, you're that lady, right?
Yeah.
And we were like,
No.
nah.
That is so funny.
Nah, dude. that
You
ain't
guys,
us.
I'm taking over apparently.
Yeah.
Just host the show from now on.
Just for today.
Perfect. So, if you couldn't already tell, today we have Gabrielle Solange. Her Instagram handle, I was looking for the words there, is Gab's Whole Story. Is that correct? Yes? Okay, cool. Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Solange.
Solange? Okay.
You have to say it with a French accent now.
Solange.
Solange. Yes.
Okay. I took
But
French
no,
for a few years,
just
so
Gabrielle
yeah.
Solange.
Cool. All right. Cool. So, we've been trying to get this shit to happen for so long. When did we first...
We've been trying to get Solange for so long.
Dude.
Yeah, I heard that too. I just tried not to be corny and point it out.
No, his job is to be the corny one. Are you dropping bars already? Like, at this point in the episode? Dude, I'm so proud of you. Can we get some ad-libs real quick?
Yeah. That's
Okay.
all you get.
That's fine. That's enough. I'll keep it simple.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Oh yeah, one of our traditions is to have podcast ad-libs.
Got it.
On the episode.
I need
I'll
to
try
stop saying brat, because, like, I've never owned a gun.
That's true. That's very true. You gotta stay real.
Oh gosh.
So, we're actually going to ask some questions today. We're not just going to sit around.
Do you not
and,
normally do
mess
that?
around. No, we do normally ask questions. No, we just talk at each other. The guest never says anything. So, before we begin, I have a couple things I need to address. First of all, this episode is sponsored by Revolter Pictures and Bill Shaft. You will hear messages from both of them in the middle of this episode at about half an hour. If you're watching on YouTube, you will see Revolter Pictures commercial that they filmed, and it's really hilarious.
Great.
It's so awesome. And they're making commercials for everybody, so please go check that out. And Bill Shaft just dropped his Revenant album today, as of this recording, so go check that out too. He has a lot of shows celebrating that. One more thing, we have an anniversary party for the first year of Gab Street. Holla.
Yeah.
Officially, our anniversary was on February 6th, but we are having the party on Leap Day because that's when we could get the venue. And you should come to that and hang out with us. We're going to have a ton of performers, including my man here, Zay Crypto, for the first time, his debut performance. Yeah. And we will have a roast of me at the end of the evening. So anybody can come in and just kind of sign up for that and go up on stage and, lay into me. So... figured that would be a bit of a crowd pull.
That's kind of cool that my debut performance is on a day that's not even real.
Yeah, for another 4 years. Yeah. That's true. So, with all that said and done, first thing I want to mention, which I think is super cool, I wanted to ask you about confidentity. Because I think... Are you wearing it right now? Or no? So am I. You gave this to me at TEDx, which we will talk about later as well. But what's the idea behind confidentity?
I mean, that's kind of... Maybe... I think... I guess when we get more into my story, it'll make a little more sense. But for the most part, it just means confidence in your identity. And I wanted to come out with something about confidence, just because of something that I was going through, and I held on. I went through names for years, and all of a sudden one day, I was reading about Shakespeare and how he made up words that we still use or something.
Like eyeball, yeah.
And I was like, wait, you can just make up words? I'm doing that. And then that's pretty much what happened. That's pretty much what happened. I was like, I want to make up, became a life goal. I want to make up words that become part of the English language.
Cool. Yeah.
That people are like, you know, Gabrielle made that up.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I respect that. That's awesome. With TEDx, where you gave me this wristband, let's talk about that as well. Your TEDx talk, as of today, yesterday, came out on YouTube.
Yay! And it came out during Black History Month, which is so cool. Just amazing. Just.
How do you feel about, because I've been watching a lot of stuff about this recently, us having specifically a Black History Month as
That's
opposed to...
That's a good question. That was not in the notes.
It was not in the notes. I'm just thinking about it right now.
I've been ambushed.
But my personal opinion, I think it should be every month. So, you know, I think it's a little reductionist to have it just in February.
What you're saying by that is it's like we should just teach Black history in school.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be, you know, put into just one section of the year.
It's a little corny.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an attempt to try to fix something, but I don't think it's a good attempt.
Black history is our history. So what do you think about that?
Well, as the Black person in the room, I understand where you guys are coming from, and where a lot of different people are coming from. And I've been back and forth, even with being called African American. Mm-hmm. You know, I have my own opinion on that too. Mm-hmm. Because my mom is not even American, and there's just different things. Mm-hmm. But I think, honestly, as we progress, things need to change. I think for instance, let's just say there's, and you have to understand, I have to think a little bit about these things because the internet is forever. Mm. And I do really care about the message that I'm sending, and I want to be clear. So if I don't really have an answer, I don't try to just make one up. But I mean, honestly, I love Black History Month, and I understand that Black history is American history, but I think the reason why we had to have Black History Month is because unfortunately, Black history wasn't being told. And I know that it seems, and it is, tragic, that I could, as a person in America, many kids will only even hear about a few token characters throughout history, like the ones that don't make people feel too uncomfortable during a month, and it's like, all right, God, we filled our quota of talking about it. All right, let's move on. And that you could take it that way, but and there's been times where I've felt that way, but I just choose to see things as like a seed and something that you have to start somewhere. And when no one's talking about it at all, to just be like, you know what? Can we just please just talk about it? And if at all, sometimes, and if they're like, okay, well, you can have this month, I'll take it, not because I don't know our value, but I'm like, you know what, we got to start somewhere, and I don't want to, despise small beginnings. I realize that we're coming from such tragic events. We're still coming from that place, and it's even right now with what's going on as a Black person, it's really, you have a choice to get really caught up and feel discouraged, or to realize how far we've come and to decide I want to build on that. I want to not in a wimpy, weak way, but in I want to be grateful for how far we've come. I want to honor the sacrifices of everyone before us. And so at this point of where we're at, one of the things that I love lately is it's just been a recent thing. I'm like, hold up. A Black movie came out, and it's not even February. Oh my God, that's literally been blowing my mind. And I've been rejoicing. I've been happy. It just makes me happy. And not only that, thanks to the internet, Black history facts are just flooding my Facebook. And you know what's really crazy? And this is something that I have to realize is a direct effect of the brokenness of my culture. Is I almost felt why is there always Black history stuff at first? Because I was just I almost felt just bombarded. It was a weird feeling. And then I realized that it's just been held back so much that now we finally have the power to create our own narrative thanks to the internet. And I almost felt like, I think the reason I felt hesitant to like celebrate it or share it is because unfortunately I had learned to just like only do what made white people comfortable. So I was like kind of like almost like, oh my gosh, another Black History fact. If I share that, it's gonna look like I'm a radical person. People aren't gonna like. I know that's sad.
That is.
It's sad, but it's something that I instinctively felt, not because it's like how I actually believe. It's just like you get conditioned to like censor yourself and shy away. That's my story. That's honestly what my TEDx is about.
Yeah.
And so I think it just, the progress that we continue to make and the choices I continue to see presented to me show me how much healing is still needed, not only in my own nation, but even in myself. So I love Black History Month because it's like, because our nation recognizes it has been throughout my life the time where I get to be unapologetic about being Black. It shouldn't be that way, but it has been that way. And now I think it's to the point where we can be like, all right, y'all, come on. Let's just change things. Let's move forward.
Wow.
Let's put out Black History movies in November and whenever we want to, because this is history. Let's stop being offended and trying to keep people from telling their story. And like I love where we're at, and I know that there's a lot of hard things, but I choose to be thankful.
I never considered it like that. That blows my mind. The fact that you would get some anxiety about sharing Black history.
I know, right?
That's crazy. I mean,
I know.
I get it, but
it's crazy. It's so crazy.
Yeah, because the history that's taught in, high schools and some colleges is just European history right now.
Yeah.
Or it's either, in Europe, or it's the colonization of other places by Europe. And then nothing before that is really talked about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't really know, because of my education and where I went to school, what was going on in, say, Africa before it was colonized. Because we started focusing on that, arena of the world on its colonization.
I was lucky enough to be homeschooled for the first, half of my education. Probably, up until 7th grade, I was homeschooled. So my mom actually did a good job about teaching me about actually world history, not just...
That's so sweet.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I probably have a bit of a different perspective on it.
Yeah.
I don't really actually care that much about my own history as a, ethnically. I don't really know... on my dad's side, they're all from, Eastern Europe, Slavic people. I really, honest to God, have no idea what happened.
Yeah.
All I know is those people were, they've pretty much been broke since civilization started. They've just been living in peasant huts all this time and drinking vodka. That's my ignorant knowledge.
I don't really know my my ancestry really either. I think I'm kind of Irish and kind of English, but that's about it. So but I don't really mind that I don't know that.
I mean, I know plenty about the English side. Everybody knows about the English.
Oh, yeah.
English one.
Do you know what's crazy about that? While you guys talking, it's making me think, since we're on the topic of Black history.
Yeah.
Me and my best friend were just talking about, why do Black people care so much about their ancestry? And she was just pointing out, white people don't do that.
Yeah,
when you guys are literally proving that. And she came up with a conclusion and shared it with me, and I was like, that makes so much sense. And she's like, the reason why we're searching and there's been this huge wave, this movement of ancestry tests and DNA tests, is because in our current time we didn't feel like we had heroes. And we're there's just been a Black movement of searching for identity and searching for where do I belong, because I don't feel like I belong here. There's a hyphen in my identity here in this nation. I'm not American, I'm African American, so let me find out who my African ancestors are.
I think that totally makes sense. Yeah. I mean,
wow, yeah. So you don't feel like an American?
I definitely feel like an American.
Well, maybe that's not the right way to put it.
But I am an American, so...
You are an American, yeah. But you feel like it's necessary to include that hyphen?
Oh man, we're getting so controversial. What?
Oh,
no.
We always want to go controversial.
Maybe not necessary, but do you feel like attached to the hyphen, the African American?
I think it's the same thing with Black History Month. I think what used to be, I think there's this double, and there's double possible meanings with everything we do.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, I really don't want to make this about, I don't want to like do a speech about the things I feel about Black history.
Go right ahead.
I don't want to. I'll just say, like, there are things, I don't necessarily feel comfortable making this all about that.
Okay.
But let's just say, there are just things that we can choose to own and celebrate, but I also feel like in another sense, from the people who are making those labels, there could be an additional, like, you're not fully American, we need to label you.
Mm-hmm.
It can be like that too. And I think, like, as Black people, we can it's not wrong or right to want, like, well, I want to be African American, I want to remember who I am, because I don't feel like I like how I got my start in this country, I don't feel fully American, I don't agree with American values because we're not all the way free. Like, there's that. But then there's also, like, no, like, my people have contributed to this country so much, and I'm American, and you need to own that as others. And so there's those two, views, and I think they're both right.
Yeah. I think I would agree on that. I've got a really weird opinion on race. Like, me and Corey have talked about this, but I really, I think race is like an old-fashioned way of thinking. I haven't identified as a white person, like, personally in a while. I kind of just consider myself a human, or like an American now, which not everybody likes, but I think that it would just be a beautiful thing to see everybody let go of their skin color and just come together as humans.
Absolutely. And
it's not possible, not at all.
I believe anything is possible, and I think...
Well, not right now. It is possible in the future.
I do. I believe anything's possible, and I think there's a big distinction between race, which, like you said, it's like it's a made up thing. Like, it's just not,
like, why don't we...
There's the human race.
Why don't we identify by our eye color? Why don't
it
you...
could be any... Like, the thing is, like, okay, so I took African American history in college because I was just on this identity quest. Mm-hmm. By the way, I loved that course. Oh my God. I loved my teacher, Mr. Coleman. He's just rocked me, changed my world. It really encouraged me as a young Black person.
Where'd you take it, if I may ask?
Actually, I took it at Columbus State, where you go. He teaches the same course at OSU.
Nice.
And he actually used to always joke, man. He's like, y'all, man, you got a deal. And actually, like, there was a few... teachers that did, like, I took a European history from someone who also taught at OSU, and they were like, man, you're getting the same courses, literally the exact same courses for a fraction. So it's like, just wise to start off at Columbus State like you're doing. But I think I want to make sure I stay on subject. What exactly were we talking about?
You took an African American history class, and it was your identity search.
Like, I think culture and heritage,
that's different,
is just so different than race. We're a human race. And I just think learning your like, what we learned in the class was, like, how different movements, like the slave trade, were never really about skin, but it was about greed. Like, even if you think and it becomes your perspective, so it becomes about skin, but you have to start with some lie, some deception. And he used to always say, like, it was about greed, and prove it throughout history and show us, like, the very history of it. And, like, even with the Holocaust, it was about greed. It was about greed, but somehow, propaganda about their looks and their noses, and, like, it somehow became that, because, that's what you do. You create a lie to mask how evil it really is.
We're very visual creatures.
Yeah.
I'd
say that's a good way to sum it up. Yeah.
So I think it's kind of made us see each other that way.
It's very odd, because, like, there's this kid at my job who is an immigrant. He came here from the Congo a few months ago, and there are some people out there that would see you and see him and lump you two into the same category, but you and me have so much more in common.
True.
Than you have with him. And
you know what's funny is when I go to Uganda, because I've been back and forth to Africa.
I want to talk about that.
There
for sure.
are people who would actually, they lump us in the same category.
Mm-hmm.
They literally, some of them were like, I was like, yeah, man, something black. And they're just like, wait, you're black? I swear, they call you Mzungu, and that means outsider or white person. And they're like, Mzungu to me.
Wow.
Literally.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I come from America. I'm like, if you look at my skin compared to their skin, it's just such a difference, and it's actually closer on a spectrum to the white people, especially the tan white people. And so some of them were more like in the villages, they didn't know I was black, but like in the city where it's like more like modern, they knew I was black, but they also knew that I wasn't like, black. And they were like, oh, you're like, one of them was like, you're like Obama. Like, whoa, it's like a girl who's like Obama, because you're like, you've got some of us in you. And they're really embracive. They're so embracive. They're so, they don't have like silly politically correct, that's another story I won't get into, but
okay.
They want us to they want people to share their culture. They love it. It's an honor. I love going there. And it was a big healing. It was another component of my healing, not only taking that class in college and going on my own journey, but arriving in a place where like brown skin is the beauty standard. That just, it was like an alternate universe.
Yeah.
I just looked on the billboards and the commercials and on all of I was like, what's happening? I am the beauty standard. They're like, African queen, eh! And I'm just like, yes. Like, I did not want to go home.
Yeah.
I didn't. Not the first time.
So you've been to both Uganda and Peru, yes?
Actually, Peru is supposed to be the up-and-coming trip, and now it's been postponed.
Okay.
So I'm just kind of, building a relationship with the people in Peru. It's kind of up in the air.
Go contribute to the fund for it. What website is it on?
It is, and it's also on my website at GabrielleSolange.com.
Okay, cool. I'm going to say that one more time, GabrielleSolange.com. Go find that website, go contribute to the fund to go to Peru. It's an awesome project to undertake. So I would like to hear more about that. So when did you go to Uganda?
I went in 2016, and then I went again last year.
Okay.
And I want to go back so bad. A team just came back, and they were like, someone left me a voice message, and it made me cry because they were like, oh my gosh, everybody was asking about you. And it just blessed my soul because it just showed me, like, sometimes you wonder if you're really making a difference or if anybody could go. Like, if the fact that it's you going means something, and the fact that what she told me that the people were saying about my time there and how much they missed me, it just made me cry because I was like, wow, like, I really make the difference. Being myself does matter. It's not like, just throw money at a situation or, like me being there, my personality and what I was doing with them made a difference.
That's cool. That must be a nice realization.
What were you doing in Uganda?
A lot. So I'm actually a missionary. Mm-hmm. So I go and I preach the gospel and just like pour worth into people and just tell them they're amazing, and then I actually do and like pray for people and see really cool things that don't always see in America, like genuine miracles. That's a random topic, but it's true. It's just true. Like, yeah. And then when
you say miracles, I'm curious. Can you tell us?
This is gonna be the weirdest podcast, y'all. If y'all don't stop.
Oh no, we've already had episodes.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
be
yeah.
yourself always.
Nothing's
off the table.
Like real miracles, like people would get healed of impossible things. I personally had an injury of 7 years that was incurable when I went, and I was refusing to go on any type of trip like that because I thought I'd be a burden. But I realized that my injury was holding me back from life, and I used to say stuff like, one day I'm going to be healed by a miracle or something because I wasn't meant to live this way. It was like all the way up my left side. My spine was always burning. I couldn't walk without a ton of pain. I thought I would never do music again. Like, it was really, really bad. And I would wake up early every day. The team didn't know, but I was in so much pain that I would wake up early and go up to this, like, special room was like a meditation prayer room, and I would just like, I couldn't sleep because my spine was burning so bad. And I would just be there before everybody else was awake, and I would just pray and sing and just like, you know, just try to be positive. And while I was out there, I hadn't been doing music. That trip changed my life. I had felt like broken, like really broken, from some of my history in like the music industry. And I had felt, because of my injury for so long, I just felt like I had nothing. I had gotten so much weight because of my injury too, because I wasn't able to do the same exercise and martial arts and stuff that I'd done all my whole life. And so as just a woman in this culture, like, I just felt worthless. And even like knowing that a lot of times my talent will be less appreciated unless I look a certain way as a woman in the industry and even in my city. So I just like didn't have a lot of confidence, which is part of that message. It was really about body image and all these things, but I wasn't writing very easily. I had a lot of anxiety when I would try to write. I wasn't using my voice often. And when I got there and I saw the miracles happening, and I saw, like, I wrote a song for some children in a village, and I saw how powerful it was. I saw some pretty supernatural, like, crazy, amazing things that, like, rocked my world. It just took my faith to a new level, but it also, I think the peak of it was just like facing a lot of these like traumas that I had been throughout my life, facing a lot of like the rejection or the sense of failure, the contaminated motivation of something that used to make me feel so amazing, just making music, caring what people think too much and all of that. Not to say that I'm completely 100% free of that. I think I'll be working that for the rest of my life, but I definitely just came into a new level of identity. And I just remember like seeing all these good things happen for other people and being like, man, God, are you just gonna like let me go home and still be in this pain? And then realizing like, I don't want to be bitter. I don't want to try to figure out, place blame and blame myself, blame God. I don't want to do that. I just want to believe that God is good and that I can make the best of what I have. And I remember dancing with the African people, knowing I'm going to be in pain. Because every time I danced or did anything strenuous, like jog, I would be in pain for days. And my best friend was my roommate, and she would make fun of me. She's now my next door neighbor. She's like, for life. And, but she would make fun of me and call me like the living dead, because I would be in so much pain when I wake up. I'd be like, and I would like stumble out of my room, and she'd go, like, it's so bad. But she'd be like, you're like the living dead. You're like, it's just like, sometimes things are so bad you have to laugh.
Yeah.
And it was like that though. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna be in pain, but like, what if I never get this chance again? I'm in Africa, like the motherland, this place that is like showed me my beauty and showed me God in a new way. And I was with these orphans, and I grew up, you know, in a hard situation in the foster care system, or like just like all these things. And I remember relating to the orphans so much, and also being scared to relate to them, because they had a level of underprivilegedness that I had never experienced. And then I suddenly was the person with privilege for the first time, and it was a weird feeling, and I could understand. I was like I forgave people for treating me that way. Not that I was like holding on to it bitterly, but the truth is like, I just understood. I just suddenly had grace. I realized like it's scary to put down that wall and feel what someone in that much pain and that much poverty feels. It's scary. And it was like this moment, this like revelation moment. And I just remember dancing, knowing I was going to be in pain, leaving, going back to the hotel room after, like, because we slept out like in the dirt, and there was crazy like giant spiders, like all kinds of stuff. It was crazy. But when we finally got back to the hotel where the beds would hurt my whole body, I just remember going to sleep, and then I was laying in bed and I was having this weird experience, and I was listening to a song that I love by Colby Calais. It's like this really cool like woman empowerment song. And all of a sudden, the music sounded amazing, more than it ever did. And I was just like, that's weird. It's like a trippy experience. I was like, am I tripping? Like, why is the xylophone standing out in this song? I don't know. It's just like, I just felt this high, this like wonderful high of just like that I was worthy and that I had done great things for the people. I felt close to God. I just felt all these amazing things. But suddenly I realized, like, I moved and my leg wasn't in pain. And I was just like scared, and I just I just was scared. Because I was like, oh no, what if it's all in my mind and then it comes back? I just felt all this anxiety and, you know, some doubt. And then all of a sudden I heard this voice that was just like, why are you so afraid of pain? And I just was like, what? And then it was like, even if the pain comes back, I'm still with you. And then it just went away completely. And then that was it. I woke up I wasn't sleeping, but I got out of bed. I took my artificial arches out of my shoes. I ran around and was like, what the heck? Oh my God. I told everybody, you know, they were like mildly celebratory, like, oh, that's really great. I'm like, do you know? So I come home, I told my boyfriend at the time, and he freaked out. And he's like, man, I gotta work on my faith. Like, you know, we say we believe in different things, but you know, it's kind of like a cultural thing. We say it for our own little safety, but if we ever have to take that risk or see what we really believe, that can be hard. But when you're in the middle of nowhere and like all you have is like God, it strips you. Like, one thing I love about my mission trips when I go on them with the teams is like, there may be like social barriers, there may be social statuses and positions that they have where we're at. But when you are out there and it's just y'all and it's an entire other culture, like, it strips all of that away. You become best friends. You're willing to like poop in front of someone while they guard you in a squatty potty. Like, it's crazy. You just get stripped. You get completely stripped, and you feel and you have these experiences that are like mind blowing that you can't. It takes a lot to get rid of those. I've seen people come back and like get depressed because they can't reconcile like the level of humanity and spirituality they felt when they come back into this environment. And it either will make you a better person or it'll make you like hate your existence, because you just like, you know, that it's like you just realize you were in the Matrix. Yeah. That's what it's like.
It really is.
And so for me, that's how I got my legs back. That's why I can wear these shoes without looking like I used to not be able to wear any cool shoes. And I remember I told my boyfriend, he's like, wow, oh my gosh, wow. And then like I told a doctor, because I went to my back was still hurting just from like all of the wrong walking that I did, and there was some inflammation. I had to like start eating different and everything, and like walking out what I need to do for myself. But the original injury was completely gone, and I went to the doctor and he's like, so it was like this incurable thing. I had tried like arches that were like man-made, like custom to my foot. I tried Good Feet store, I like x-rays, like everything for years, ultrasound. And he was like, so what happened now? Like, I was like, oh, well, and I just basically really short was like, well, basically God healed me. And he was like, so did you hit your head while you were in Africa? And wow. I just started laughing. I was like, no. Oh, what's wrong? Like, people just don't have any hope or faith or concept for supernatural things or miraculous things. But for me, that is my world. That is what I really live pursuing and believing. That's why if you ask me like, you know, simple questions that seem political, like I want to choose the good. I want to see the good, because it's like I learn that that's a choice I have, and when I make that choice, I open up a world of possibilities that might have not been there.
We're going to take a quick commercial break to hear a message from our sponsors, Revolter Pictures and Bill Shaft.
Hi, I'm Anthony Cardosi, award-nominated actor for Revolter Pictures. We can make your next commercial. Here's some testimonials from some former losers whose lives we've changed forever.
I've been selling potato blankets for years, but nobody would buy them. They had no idea how great my product was until I stumbled upon Revolter Pictures. They helped me to show the world that my potato blankets are #1.
Wasn't that great? Revolter Pictures makes all kinds of commercials for all kinds of people. Just check out this former loser.
My friends and or family told me that I would never find anyone to make a commercial for my secondhand bread store. But thanks to the guys at Revolter Pictures, my business is through the roof.
Are you still not satisfied? Okay, check out this testimonial.
Before Revolter Pictures, I look like this.
Now I look like this.
Revolter Pictures is a group of independent filmmakers who want to bring your vision to life. Find us on Facebook and Instagram Or you can email us at revolterpictures@gmail.com.
Gab Street Podcast is proud to be sponsored by Bill Shaft, a 19-year-old rapper whose new album Revenant is now out on all streaming services. He's an event planner for Sluggish Records from Chillicothe, Ohio. His new project has features from Dirty Sanchez and Desi Hines from Pro Era. Bill is really someone to watch in 2020. Make sure to follow him on Instagram at BillShaft47. That's BILLSHAFT 47. To find his music, just look up on all platforms Bill Shaft with a $sign. He and Pete Lynch do Sluggish events. There will be a lot of shows coming from them this year, so keep track of them, and look for his interview dropping on April 22nd of this year. Now back to the show.
That's a great story.
I think you two might have something in common.
Yeah, we do. Well, I need a miracle like that for my legs. I know what you mean. It's awful, and nobody knows just what it's like because, like, you're just limping a little bit. They don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think my injury is as bad as yours was, though. I think mine's curable, but it's gonna take a while.
We know miracles can happen whether they're small or big.
Yeah.
I have a question I really want to ask. Since you have a lot of experience dealing with people like the orphans in Uganda, and
I wouldn't say
people
a
that are
lot, but I mean
a certain level of
More
experience.
than us.
Yeah, more than we do.
I'm not like an expert.
I want to hear your opinion on, because I eventually would like to become a licensed therapist. That is my career path and life path, personally. And one thing I'm curious to hear from your perspective is what is the most important thing to understand, both from your own experience and the experience of others you've helped, when you're trying to give resources to those that are disadvantaged? What are the best things to provide, and what should you avoid? And if that's a very hard question, I understand.
I think it can be, but it can also, some things are simple too.
Yeah.
I think the best you can provide is, let me put this right, self-worth. I think that's so important. You can provide, if you can implement that into anything that you're doing, whether you're teaching a skill, whether you're providing connections and resources and interviews, like if you don't work at, and you're going to be a psychologist so you can do this, but if you don't work at like getting them to see their own worth, and then none of it matters. I'm actually going to start working with something called Project Grow.
Okay.
With an OSU student. He won a prize to fund his own nonprofit for a year, which is epic.
That's
He's my
awesome.
friend, yeah, and it's awesome. And I'm gonna start working with him to partner with something called the Star House, and it's people who have been like, most of them have like been in the foster care system or something. They're struggling with homelessness and lack of resources, lack of family, and it's like a drop-in place where they're transitioning into adulthood, and a lot of people don't understand like the normal problems that. Like one thing that, and I like that you asked me this because this is actually becoming my focus. It has always been my heart, but I had to like, kind of like not be picky about the gigs I chose, not be picky and like just do everything for the last 2 years. But thankfully towards like last year or more, I started getting opportunities to use my voice and to, sing and get work. Doing what I actually love. And at the beginning of the year, I went to go listen to testimonies from adults who had transitioned out of the foster care system and what it was like for them. Each of them had a different story. I cried so much because I related, and I just felt angry learning about some of the corruption, children's services, and I actually did a children's service event at the end of last year too, like just singing there. And I think one thing, like I was trying to learn like the common theme, and like not just use my own story as a reference, but listen to what other people feel like they needed, what would have helped them better. The people who ended up on drugs, the people who ended up homeless. And I think resources, but I think like there's some things I realized listening to their stories, and then it made me realize things in myself. There's trauma that we don't account for just as human beings, period. But then when someone's also going through that, there's like these orphan spaces inside of us that sometimes we don't want to cook. Why? We don't know why. But maybe it's because you had an abusive situation and your mother never wanted you in the kitchen, and you felt like unworthy around that. You felt like, so when you try to get creative, it makes you feel this like craving for family that you'll never have, and you just can't take it. There's stuff like that. There's so many things. And I think like if you're ever gonna like try to provide a resource, I think just making sure it's a holistic process. And I don't think like any human can necessarily like make up for all of those things in another human. But I think we are definitely a vehicle for that, and a connection, and just like a help, I think it's ultimately my responsibility to pursue my own wholeness. But when people are patient with me, when people call out the gold in me instead of seeing all the dirt, which is really easy to do, I think it's something my pastor says. He's like, it's really easy to find dirt when you're looking for gold. But it just takes a special kind of person to actually call out the gold anyways in the midst of all of that. And I think I can look at a few places in my own life, key places that shifted the trajectory of my whole life. There were teachers, there were mentors, there were people who provided me not only resources, but the thing I know what made all the difference, whether there was a resource attached or not, was them pouring identity into me. I had a third grade teacher say, "You are a good writer." And I had already by then learned like, hey, don't stand out too much. Don't outshine a white girl because you won't invite like some hate, like you don't want any attention. And that's, it's not a race thing. It's just like, that's my story, but other people have other things. My point is just that when that teacher called that out and she wasn't apologetic about it, I was embarrassed. Kind of like I was scared to share Black history. I was like, whoa, no, I don't want to be too good. I don't want to make anybody mad. It was like, but then I was like, wait, she says that I have the right to be good and that I have a future ahead of me. And that sent me on a path of being creative and believing that what was inside me was worth getting out. And I think that feeling carried into other things. When I was feeling suicidal after running away from home and going through all these things, I would write, and that was my safe place. And I think later on I had a counselor, like you're gonna, sort of like what you're gonna do. And I remember asking her, or her asking me my dreams, and all the other counselors, all the other, psychologists, counselors, whatever, they weren't as smart as her. They tried to get me to talk about problems and identify with the problems, the things that had happened to me. But I went through many, like it was a string of them, and I didn't care. I was like, oh my God. And they kept sending them because this was like the law. They're like, we need to make sure she's not, she's so traumatized, whatever. And she was just like, hey, what do you want to do? I bet you never get out. I was just like, oh, when I go to Wendy's, I never get like food that I want. She's like, all right. So every time she would take me out, she had like some budget from the place, whatever. She would get me to talk about what I want. Boys, my dreams. And one day she said, what do you want to do? And I was like, I can't tell you, it's embarrassing, it's impossible. She was like, no, it's not impossible. What do you want to do? And I was like, well, I want to be a famous singer. And then I want to come back and help girls, like how you do. She's like, Gabrielle, it's not impossible. And this one person saying that bothered me because she was someone I looked up to. And I think it's like when someone who is in a place of privilege or authority goes out of their way to use that place in someone's life, that influence, and to pour into them freely and intentionally, that changed me. And that became a possibility to me. And if you look at my, if you know anything about my story, that became my life. And I'm still walking that out. And I think each time I had Jackie Calderon, she does transit arts and she does like a lot of really awesome stuff in the city still. And she decided that I wasn't a problem child. I was just misunderstood. And those shifting of labels helped me see myself. And then she put tools in my hand. So there comes the resources. She said, I think you can paint. I'm like, I don't think so. She's like, here you go. And then giving me opportunities. So I would say, I don't know, I don't think like psychologists like have all the power to do each of these things, but just like the full picture of what we can do for people is, one, give assign worth to them, a value to them. That can be through many different ways. It can be through words of encouragement. It can be through opportunities that we trust them with, boundaries that we set instead of enabling them, actually calling them to a higher standard with patience and understanding, with trauma informed, of course. And then resources attached to that, because there's this, there's like this gap where sometimes we just throw resources at people, and when they don't get it, well, then we're like, see, that's why we can't waste our resources. But then it's also like, well, no, we just need to like give them the words, and if they know the truth and they don't do it, that's their fault. But like, well, no, they don't have the resources, and so it's even more discouraging. But if you put those two together, then we have an actual, like, we have a formula that can work.
Corey, you taking notes?
Mentally, yes. Technically, we're recording this too, so I'll be watching this back. That's, I am going to apply all of that. And I had never heard anything like that before. Seriously. From any psychology professor or anybody that was involved with my education toward that. I think that portion of it is very neglected.
Really?
And to nerd out a little bit.
That's an interesting point.
Let's hear it.
I'm going to nerd out just a little bit. There were, and I'm probably going to get this wrong, sorry, Mr. Savage, but there were...
Mr. Savage?
Mr. Savage is his name.
I love it.
If you're listening to this somehow, I love you, and you do a great job educating, just so you know. You were my favorite teacher in high school. Anyway, so I took a 2-year course called IB Psychology in high school, junior and senior year, and it all leads up to this giant 34-paragraph test that you have, like you write that many paragraphs total from memory. And one of those prompts was about, I always categorize things like this, abnormality in psychology is highly, like, there is a class called abnormal psychology. It is a field of psychology, and it was all focused on negative aspects of the human psyche up until relatively recently, like the 1980s or 1990s. All of it before was, here's what's wrong with people that are abnormal, here's statistically different, and it was all just about negative health traits.
Mm-hmm.
And someone named Jehoda, I don't remember the first name, but Jehoda created a positive mental health study, the system to focus on standards for positive mental health. And there are 7 of them, and I don't remember any of them, but it's not focused on. And a lot of, like, psychologists know this if they've taken classes about this, but the current system that is regulated by the government for therapy, for insurance, you have to have a diagnosis in the first session to use health insurance for it. Otherwise, it's out of pocket.
That's crazy.
I've seen that, where they try to almost like force diagnosis on you.
Exactly. And so we have all of these people thinking that they have, and diagnosis is such a broad spectrum, and it's based on having this many out of this many. This
how many like checks?
Check marks.
Yeah. And
so many apply to so many different things,
right.
And you may have all of these, and it might not even be that.
Right.
And so because we're humans, I'll let you go here in a minute. Let me nerd out. We have all of these. We have to check marks because that's how we are as humans, and I think a shift. That's part of why I want to go into the field of psychology, is to make a change toward the positive direction and not, charge out of pocket just for me to tell you that you need to take this medicine. You need to medicate for this. There's something wrong with you, and you need to fix it for the people around you. The point, the idea that I've had behind trying to go into it is exactly that self-worth idea, and having a conversation with yourself that is mitigated or moderated by the therapist. It's not the therapist is not supposed to give you advice. Is not to tell you what to do. The point of a therapist, in my mind at least, is to, like I said, moderate a conversation with yourself so that you're asking the right questions. The other person knows the answer because you're asking the questions. They didn't think about those answers before. So you're just bringing those out. Mm-hmm. So that's what I think about therapy.
That's really interesting that our mental health care system focuses on the negatives, because I've read a lot of self-help books to try to just have a better mental attitude, and all of them say that this sort of thinking is what drives your mental health downward. It's positive thinking that stops you from getting into these dark mental places.
And you're gonna change all that.
I'm gonna try.
And we're not doing that, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's insane.
You know what? That really makes sense, because I don't like therapists. Whenever I've gone to a therapist, I just feel depressed. More depressed than I was before I went to him.
Because they tell you have depression.
Yeah.
And so you...
No,
It's
sounds
so
silly.
true,
No,
bro.
but it's
so true.
It's
You're
like,
so smart.
It's more so they're just like, so tell me about your childhood, and then I'll tell them about my childhood. And I'm like,
right. That's now you see why I said like that counselor that helped me. She didn't do that.
Yeah.
She said, tell me about your dreams.
Yeah.
Now,
no one has ever asked me that.
That's great.
there is a way for that to be effective, though, too, because there are two ways of doing it, and one is, funneling self-worth.
Yeah.
Funneling is kind of a crude term for that, but you know what I mean. And second of all, you can uncover one person's source of trauma, so you can find I'm forgetting...
Mental blockage.
Yeah. Basically, like what is causing a certain behavior that is not making their life as easy as it could be.
Right.
Pretty much.
Right.
And you can find that, you can unearth it.
Exactly.
A lot of people will unearth that and then leave therapy.
Exactly.
That is the worst thing you can do, because the rest of the process is to help you accept that and make it part of your journey, instead of have that just as, oh, this happened to me and this is why I'm wrong.
Right.
And I'm going to think about this as part of my identity as a negative thing from now on.
Right.
And that's so not how you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to keep going through, but you can't force somebody to keep going through therapy. It's a free country, right? We can't have mandatory therapy.
It's also very expensive.
Exactly.
It is.
And, we have to tell you there's something wrong with you in order for you not to have to, give us
so
a
it's
ton of money.
productive.
Yeah, my mom's healthcare gets me 3 sessions every year. So
That's insane.
it's 2020. I get some free sessions. So 3 hours, and I'll have to wait till 2021 for the next ones.
You just need good friends.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't even want to go, but she wants me to go. I just rather talk to my friends, but...
It seems like the only way we can change that system and the way that works is to make an argument that sounds appealing to the people with financial interests in this in this industry.
You right.
So here's what I propose.
Okay.
We say to these healthcare professionals that are monetizing our mental health that a person with healthier mental habits, with better mental health, is a harder worker, is someone who... Seriously, I'm not even kidding.
Okay.
It gives
like
them
where
a
this is
better
going.
sense of self-worth, and when you work for something, that is one of the biggest sources of self-worth, And I'm not saying that this is the argument that I want to put out there, because that should not even be part of the equation.
Yeah.
But I think we
I hear
have to, for the people in
No,
power...
you have to strategize.
Exactly.
It's like having Black History Month. It
Yeah,
shouldn't be
exactly.
a thing, but
Right.
you gotta use what you have.
Yeah.
So
I like it. You have to appeal to the
investors.
the way
elites.
things are, not the way things need to be.
To our rulers.
Yes.
I like it. I really hope you do all this stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And this podcast is kind of practice.
Yeah.
No,
be
I do.
honest.
I see it. I really
So-
do. While you're talking, I won't get all mushy, but I think I just really, I really believe what you're saying. Like, I genuinely see you doing that, and I'm like, you can do it. I hope you know. You literally can do that. I'm gonna hold you accountable.
Oh boy.
We can hold each other accountable.
Is that the first time someone said that on the show while you've been here? That they're going to hold me accountable for something? Because I think
feel
that
like
might be
it's
the
not-
first time.
You think?
Yeah.
Like, you know what we need in this world? We, as creatives, we were talking before this started, like, just showing other creatives through this podcast and other people, innovators and thinkers, like, what's available. And I think one of the things we need is, like, camaraderie and people to hold us accountable. Like, me and my best friend, we hold each other accountable to our dreams, and we have, like, we literally, like, schedule meetings just to work on our shit.
Yep, that sounds like me and Corey.
Oh yeah.
And me and Luke.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
and you just got to do it.
Yeah.
So if you start telling me something, I'm gonna believe you, and I really do. It's not, I don't believe what everybody says, but it's something that I just feel that it's who you really are.
Thank you. That means a lot. That yeah. I haven't heard that on the
Look
show
out
before.
for Corey in the 30s. Coming to you next decade. A therapist near you.
A therapist and
I love that.
I would say like a public figure / with training, with psychological background, you know.
You're gonna drop the hardest therapy mixtape of 2032.
Listen to this and you'll forget all your
I
problems.
mean, no, you just have the personality and you have the sincerity of someone. I could see, honestly, that's why I came to do this. Like, I knew it was just like a small thing, but I was like, you know, somehow you get people you just connect, and I don't know. I like when I find stuff like that and find people like that. It's refreshing, and I don't know. We just all gotta. I just believe in what you're doing, and I want to contribute and be part of it.
Thank you.
Because I really do. So now you prove more. Like, I really think that we can. Like, there are some people, you know, they have, you know, their platforms, and they're making a big difference. And I definitely think there's no reason why you shouldn't be one of them. So, and why I shouldn't be one of them, and why you shouldn't be one of them. That's the point.
Yeah.
Like, we are the change, you know?
Yeah. Gab Street's gonna be bigger than you know.
It's gonna be bigger than me. I want it to be bigger than me.
Absolutely.
It's already bigger than you.
It is bigger.
It
than
has
me.
more. You have more followers on Gab Street than you do on your personal page.
That's totally a measure of it being.
Yeah.
Just look at the numbers. That's all we know. So the focus of this show is Columbus, heavily, and we've talked about your mission trip to Uganda, and I want to hear what you've learned from that experience into what we can do better as a city for the disadvantaged areas that we have. Because, fun fact, not really that fun of a fact, but it's a fact. I learned this while I was interviewing Cassie Young and Jalen Alexis from, Jalen Grisso. Jalen Alexis is her Instagram handle. Matter News, the founders of Matter News, and they said that from their research, Columbus, Ohio, out of the United States, is either the or the second most financially and racially segregated city in the United States.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we have areas such as, you know, Franklinton and Linden and Whitehall, and that are less advantaged and have less resources. And it seems like nothing's really being done to fix that, mostly because our government is self-appointed every single year.
Yeah, that
isn't
was
funny?
some crazy shit, bro. That's some, like, break the matrix type knowledge.
Andrew Ginther, I want you on the show, but I'm gonna tear into you because nobody runs against you, and there's a reason why. But anyway, there's a reason why no one runs against you, and it's not because there is no one that wants to. So, anyway.
I think Scott Woods has a chance.
Yeah.
If you know who that is.
Scott Woods.
Mayor Woods. Shout
Mayor
out.
Woods. Scott Woods. Vote for him in the next election. I don't know what his platform is, but whatever. We just need to get the establishment Democrats out of here.
The people who know who he is will love that shout out.
Okay, cool. That's good. Cool. So I wanted to ask, what can we do better as a city for disadvantaged areas? And maybe not from a governmental standpoint, but
right.
You know, from what we've already been talking about today.
I won't pretend to know.
Okay.
Because I think
Thank
I'm
you.
just in my lane, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think the stuff I said before, like just providing resources and hope and putting that, making sure that holistic approach. But I guess it depends on your role in society, you know? And that's what I mean, like, I won't pretend to know what the whole city can do, because I just have to find my role and make sure that I am applying that to the city. That's it. Like, I think if we all just like kind of like be in our role and like be in our lane and, use, like, for instance, you're doing psychology. You could just do it so that you can make money and have, like, live on a ranch somewhere, but you choose to see, like, well, how can I like maybe shift perspectives and even learn and find a better way to, like, move my city forward and help people. I think it's just like, whatever you do, just be considerate. That's really it. It's that simple. You know, some people have more power, some people have more resources, but whatever you do.
Hashtag LSD in the water supply 2020.
Do you want me to explain that to you real quick?
No.
Okay.
Just kidding. I don't care.
That's a Gab
But,
Street
no.
meme.
It is a Gab Street meme. We had Morgan Harper on the show for
Okay.
a while back, like
Oh, that's so
episode
cool.
36.
You know, I actually hung out with her
She is
like
so
a
cool,
few
isn't she?
weeks ago. Yeah, not long ago.
Yeah, she is one
I was
of the
like, oh,
nicest
thank
people.
you for meeting. She's pretty cool. She's very passionate.
While we were interviewing her, you said that we should put LSD in the White House water supply.
Yeah.
And she was like,
Wow.
what am I supposed to do with this information?
What the heck?
It was
Y'all
so
are
funny,
crazy.
Well, I mean, that's what we're here for, though.
You get some pretty cool guests on the show too.
Yeah, we do.
You really do. I think it's something special about it.
It says something about you, too. You're very cool. Yes.
Only the best.
Let's see. Do
What
I have...
episode is this? This is
54.
54.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're into the second year now.
That's true.
Season 2.
Season 2, yes. Do I have any lengthy,
Who was the
wordy
first guest you had for the year?
For the year? Joseph Keith. That was January 1st was when the co-host episode came out. So we did a retrospective episode because I did the show at the very beginning with my man Gage, and we went for about 22 episodes, and he came back on. I think it had been 28 episodes since he had been here, and hung out with us, and we had a couple co-hosts that we've had, including you.
Yeah.
We've also had Alex Johnson. Shout out Alex Johnson, minor figure on Instagram. Revolter
Yes.
Pictures, very funny dude.
Yes. He's always there to comment on my posts.
That's true.
Thanks, man.
Okay, for real, best fan to have ever for anything.
Yeah.
He's just so supportive
Yeah.
about all, like...
It makes me feel bad because I don't go on Instagram enough, but, like, shout out you.
Yes. But yeah, we did a quick episode with everybody, and then after that, Joseph Keith was the first guest that it was not involved with the show.
You can't
directly
forget
already.
Mia though. Mia was a guest too.
Mia Nicole was
Mia
also on
Nicole,
that episode, and that was very
that
funny.
was a great episode.
So funny. They are very raunchy. So that was awesome. We kind of slide on either side of the spectrum on this show.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
we'll go serious and then we'll have Pussy Boy on.
Yeah, like we'll have the raunchiest people on the show, and then we'll have people like Mike Galicchio, where he does the Columbus Food Truck Festival on the side of mile and such. So
I like that you let people be themselves. That's really cool.
what else can I let them be? You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense for me to project anything.
Or that
onto
you're
anyone.
open to showcasing people who come from different perspectives.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's how we solve the problem.
Columbus is so diverse, especially for the Midwest. Like,
What do you mean for the Midwest? I want to dig into that.
Because the Midwest is not that diverse.
That's true.
Like, if you leave Columbus,
all the rural areas,
it's a very stereotypical, like...
Yeah, man. I be feeling like I'm gonna get lynched when I drive outside of Columbus.
Yeah,
I'm dead
for real?
serious.
Yeah.
I be driving, I be seeing stuff like, feeling like I'm in Get Out. Like, I just
Wow.
feel like, don't want to get pulled over by a cop.
Yeah, for real.
I've never
I'm
heard that
so
before.
serious. We always joke about it when I'm driving like to Toledo or another city, like passing all these small towns. Some of the
hope
some
the
of
car
the
doesn't
billboards
break
are
down.
questionable. Like I'm like what?
that hell is real
Like
billboard.
I don't
Oh
know.
my
There's like
God.
there's some weird ones. I don't wanna. I'm just like.
Yeah.
Like, worse than that.
There's definitely some ones. I can't think of exactly what they are, but I have them in my head. I don't want to say them wrong. So.
So, this kind of leads to another question that I have. If this is a difficult question and you don't know the answer,
Pass.
obviously, same thing. But, how do I phrase this? So, the people that we're talking about in rural areas sometimes feel a little more empowered to be a little more outward with their bias against certain people. To put
Be
it in a very
specific.
neutral way. People out there be racist. And very
Yeah.
outwardly, as we have... Well, that might be a representative small sample out of that those people, so we may be inaccurate, but you have that feeling out there, so I'm going to go off of that assumption.
I don't know, man. The
question I'm going to ask.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Not to step on you, but how does one with an unconscious bias living in the city that is not able to, well, rightfully so, not able to exude that attitude, but is trying to actively fight that unconscious bias? How does one fight that bias? What are the steps one needs to take?
The bias, like when they're in that area?
Like here in the city, there are obviously, like in every city, there are people that are racist. And if we think about it psychologically, there are people that are racist that don't want to be racist. Yeah. And this is a thing that happens where their unconscious bias leads them to automatically separate different groups in their mind.
I mean, no matter how you think, we all think in terms of race. Like, I don't even believe in race, but I still think in terms of race.
Because it's socialized.
It's been bred into me.
It's crazy how much you can subtly find that in all media and everything around here. I wanted to see if you had any opinions on how to fight that bias.
So are you saying how to fight it in other people or in yourself?
In yourself.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I think it's funny. I mean, I've had to fight it within myself. And I'm Black.
Yeah.
But I think, again, like I think like with my TEDx, like kind of talks about, like, you know, before you're ever introduced to race, you know, what do you see? What is the first feeling? And you see those posts going viral where a white girl gets a black doll and the clerk is like, why are you getting that doll? Is it for a friend? And it goes viral and people are like, oh, we're so racist. And it's just like, well, I mean, I think you just have to, it's sad, but you have to like choose to renew your mind with the truth, and you have to make sure you don't feel guilty and you don't own those thoughts. Like if I think the reason we're not healing is because we don't want to admit that we need to be healed from that, because then we're admitting we're racist, and that's the worst thing you can be called, right? True. And so it's like, but if we can just say, wait a second, I don't think that person is as capable because they are this way, or that person's not as, you know, attractive because they look this way, or whatever it is. If we can acknowledge that in the moment because we've chosen to be aware, then we can take that thought captive and apply truth to it. And literally, like, if you, and you're into psychology, so you know about neuroplasticity. You can literally take that captive and apply a new perspective. You can't help that first perspective. That was wired into your brain. But you can proactively renew your mind until you rewire yourself. You can literally change your mind. And I think I've been on that journey with my own self-love and how I view my own self and others. And every time, because I've chosen to take that journey, sometimes it's heartbreaking, some of the things that I initially think. Yeah. But because I've chosen to take that journey, and a lot of times it'll be triggered by someone else's like bias. They'll say it and I'll get mad at them, but then I'll stop, because this is a practice that I do. I'll stop and be like, wait, do I secretly think along the same lines? And I'm getting mad because I see now how ugly it is. And I'll find usually that there's some of that in me too, and I'll like, oh, wow, that's not true. And then I have the opportunity to apply what is true. And suddenly it's amazing. My feelings, like my everything about what I'm like, whether it's an attraction, whether it's just like a belief or a comfortability that I suddenly have, suddenly my feelings just match up to that. I control that. I can change how I feel by first choosing to change my thinking. You're transformed by the changing your thinking. And we all know that. We say stuff like, oh, it's so you start the battles in the mind, or it's all about the way you think is how your world will be. We know that, but you know that it's science. And I think just like, that's just the truth. You have to be willing to admit that you have that problem first, just like in anything you're trying to heal from. You have to admit, like, oh, like I have a bias, like, you know, and then you have to be willing to not run from those things and deny them when they pop up, but to be like, wait, you thought, come here. What did you just say? No. Yeah. That person, like, even, like, there's, like, you know, like, body image, body positivity, like, fat shaming. Like, if you can realize, like, I don't like myself and I don't want to go out, I don't feel worthy because I'm not the weight I want to be. you don't have to live with that feeling. You can be like, wait, but what's the truth? Like, and you can apply that truth, and that might feel hard because you're like, but that's not what the world thinks, or that's not what, but it doesn't matter. Like, you have to just choose the truth. Regardless of whether the rest of the world is saying one thing, you have to choose how you're going to feel about it and how you're going to see the world, and that's just how it is.
Yeah, we didn't think in terms of race when we were born. None of us did.
Yep. It was a beautiful time.
Yeah.
Another thing I'll say, I was just talking to a really good friend. She's actually about to move to Uganda temporarily to adopt someone into her white family. Because she went there on a mission trip and she just was so moved. And there's already a lot of controversy that's starting to be apparent to her. She's becoming more and more aware of Black issues that she never had to be, and she was homeschooled. So like that innocence that you talk about, that like there's like this protection, you know? Yeah. And she had that, and when she first started to like get things pointed out to her, people first said like, oh, so you're gonna do her hair and like blah, 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 and these fears came, like people were gonna think that she shouldn't have this kid and that she has no right to have like all these things. And then like, you know, you wanna, you know, like, and one thing that discourages people who are in marginalized situations is when like others who aren't experiencing that dismiss their concern, dismiss their pain, like, oh, I'm sure they didn't mean it. I'm sure it wasn't like that. And so she started realizing, like, when, like, maybe I'll tell a story and I'm like, oh, that person said this. She's like, well, they didn't mean that. And then she stopped and be like, wait, but why would they say that though?
Yeah.
Ouch, I like that person. That person's amazing. And yet they said that. Wow, like we're so much, I'm gonna bring a kid into that. And she, at first she told me like, and she's so smart and she's so, like, I think she's just like an amazing person because she's just adjusting, and that just proves to me like humans can be amazing people. Like sometimes we like demonize a certain group of people, but she's just proof of like just the ability for people to learn and adjust and change. And one thing she said was, she's like, man, it was really uncomfortable. I wanted to not be. She's like, I felt like, you know, why do I have to be aware that person's Black? I was innocent. I want to stay pure. I want to stay. And then she said, but then I realized the truth is, like, in a perfect world, I wouldn't have to be aware. And I got spared of that because I was homeschooled and raised well. But if I want to fight it, I have to be aware. And I have to, she's like, it's kind of selfish to want to stay in a bubble. And she's like, and that's what privilege is. And she's like, and that's what my white privilege is. And she was telling me like how for the very first time, she was always like aware in theory, but as she's getting closer to like adopting this Black kid, she was just like, I saw two Black men at a bus stop, and I just felt this feeling I'd never felt, like this intrinsic thing that she couldn't control, this overwhelming, like they know that they're Black men and they're aware of all this, like all these things that she's heard. She suddenly thought, like, she's like, I never have to think and question like my, like how people see me or my ability to make it through the world or feel, you know, she just, I guess I don't even understand like all that she felt, but she just said that's the first time she like literally felt in her body and in her emotions what it must be like, as close as she'll ever get than actually being Black. And the fact that she was willing to feel uncomfortable, that's the most beautiful thing to me. I'm like, man, like you're an amazing person. Because she told me that it was a struggle. I don't want to know that. I could just blame the world, like, well, they're all racist. But she's like, but if I don't choose to learn about what's going on, how can I ever fight it? And if I truly, you know, she's like, it's just like bad to be on the sidelines and stay ignorant. You know, just as bad as it, almost as bad as it is to be racist. Like, and Martin Luther King said, like the people who, he basically talks about passivity and, you know, just the illusion of not being part of the problem just because you're, you know, not actively participating in something. And so I think she has it down, and she's like an amazing person, a really great friend, and she's like preparing herself to help fight these things instead of just like enjoying her privilege and ignorance.
I do. That is the best way to fight it, really, is to engulf yourself in what you're trying to fight.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
I don't want kids. There's no way I'm ever going to adopt an African child. But I do know what you're talking about to a certain extent, and I'm always looking for ways to fight that. What do you think that I could do in my current situation? So I don't
right
know.
now?
As a white person in Columbus,
Got it.
working like close to minimum wage, I'm just a regular person, you know?
Yeah.
Like, but throughout my day-to-day, is there anything you think I could do to, I don't know, enlighten, spread awareness?
Honestly, I think it can be simple. I think there's certain things that we have. There's a difference between like having privilege and like not wanting to ruffle any feathers, and then like using the strategy and using wisdom and saying, okay, it's not wise to say this right now. There's a difference, and I think a lot of people just like don't want to get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like I think just if you have a chance listening to someone's story, not being offended, you know, just not taking it personal. If someone is upset at white people, and like someone already commented something negative on my TEDx, and they were like, what did it say? It said overcoming racial tension. It was like, really? Like, you know that's not possible as long as white people exist. Sorry. They said that. You can go read it.
So I gotta go.
And yeah, like, so we're on some like, what's that dude? Oh, the Marvel movie who tried to like get rid of everyone.
Thanos.
Yeah. Oh my
I was
god.
like, let's all the white
He's up
people
there.
disappear and make a better world. You know, and I think I could have been, been irritated, like, man, you're part of the problem, or white people could just be like, see, this is why I don't do anything, or they could be like, you're a bad person. But instead, regardless of whether you're black or white, I'm like, ouch. You really believe that?
Mm-hmm.
That has actually been your experience. How much pain have you been in? You know, and that's what you got to do that with each person. That's all. It doesn't you don't make excuses for them.
Yeah.
But you just try to offer a different narrative and be like, hey, like, I just said, like, I'm really sorry that's been your experience, but, you know, it hasn't been mine, and I know how hard it can be, I know how hopeless it can feel, but I choose to believe in us, in humans, no black, no white, just in humans.
Yeah.
And some of my favorite people in black history are white people. They're people who gave up their privilege to march alongside, and some of them lost their lives, and they didn't have to. That's mind-blowing. So
Yeah, we need a whole lot more education.
True that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I could go into why I think the government's de-educating the population, but we don't have to go into that today.
We could spend the whole
I
hour
thought
on
this was
that.
like a creative podcast, like for art, but it's definitely
This is like
turned into a...
okay. This is like No Jumper mixed with Joe Rogan podcast.
I'm trying to do that for Columbus.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the point.
This is like
honestly.
Actually, no. I'm sorry, because No Jumper's ratchet. This is like the non-ratchet version of No Jumper.
Good point, I guess.
Yeah.
Any
yeah.
other music questions?
Yeah, we should talk about your music.
I was like,
So you call the music that you make experimental pop to free flowing jazz.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with that. And I think on your Spotify and your SoundCloud and such, I hear more of the experimental pop. And every
Yeah.
time I've heard you perform in person,
It's always...
I've heard the jazz.
Yeah.
But I've never really heard a mixture. I've never heard one or the other in the opposite space.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if that was deliberate at all.
No, it's just one of those things, like, kind of like how I said, like, now I'm being more pickier about, like, the gigs I take. But I have to do everything. I think when I create, well, first of all, I'm not creating with a band. A lot of times I'm creating just with my laptop and with my synthesizing keyboard.
Okay.
So it starts to go more towards, like, electronic or pop. Or
Do you
just,
produce your own instrumentals?
I do.
That's awesome.
I know.
Damn.
Producer.
Okay.
Great job.
It doesn't mean I don't work with other people. It's just like I love it.
Yeah.
But the shows that I was getting happened to be, it just kind of opened up to me. And also I kind of like, I think there's some times where you got to push what you want, and then there's other times it's just like, you know, I don't even know all what I really like. Music is just like endless and limitless. And so when jazz opportunities started opening up for me, I just found a new side to myself. And I loved jazz, and I found that jazz honestly can go anywhere you want it to go. And it's just the opportunities that were opening up. I just followed that. And I think I think it's funny because you see a lot of artists when they like make it big and then they suddenly change. People are like, oh, they're being fake. I'm like, or they're being real, and people are allowed to like more than one music genre.
Yeah.
But that's just how, I mean, I think I was there was that pressure to be in a box when I was in my old band a long time ago. And I think I just never wanted to go through that. I just knew, like, music is first and foremost for my exploration and to free myself. And of course I want to make it excellent. Of course I'm going to do my part to, like, get it out there. And I believe in it. But for me, and no new thing is popular when it first starts. That's why it takes off, because it's different. And I really just want to find what I have to add and contribute to the music scene by just being myself. So,
would you like to talk about the old band at all, or is that less of a topic you want to cover?
It's not necessary.
Okay, fair enough. Then we will move on. Cool.
Yeah.
So I first saw you live at Comfest, and I think, have you only played Comfest once?
Where did you sing on the jazz stage, or?
I think so. It was the stage by the Greek church.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you saw the Dimple song?
I saw the Dimple song at Genoa Park.
Oh, that wasn't as cool. Man,
it was still super cool,
but the Dimples performance at Comfest was it was epic.
I actually didn't know who you were at that point. All I saw was this person exuding this immediately powerful presence that
stop it.
Seriously, I'm not kidding. My attention had to go over here. Normally when I'm walking around Comfest, I don't really take everything in that well. It's just a lot of people go there just to smoke weed. I don't smoke weed.
Or to, like, not wear shirts. It's like,
exactly.
Yay!
Yeah. Just kind of, we'll just be,
right.
We'll just kind of
float
float
around.
around.
What if you run into your, like, boss? I don't know. I always wonder, like, what the heck? But continue.
It's like, we won't talk about this at work. It's okay. But I remember that experience, and we were leaving at the time. So we were leaving and we were passing the stage, and we just kind of stopped and watched for a little bit. And I didn't realize that was you until we had started communicating later. I was like, whoa, cool. I saw this a long time ago, and I was immediately enthralled by it. So all of that has led to this. So I think it's super cool how that works. But yeah, I mean, you do have an extremely powerful presence on stage, and I think that is explained by the passions that we have talked about earlier. So I have a lot of respect for that. I think that's really cool.
Thank you.
Thanks for the dimples song, by the way.
Yeah.
Because we both have dimples.
Yay!
That's really
dimples,
cool.
Sorry, I keep like kicking you.
I also want to ask about
you have dimples too.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. It's the Dimples anthem.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You do creative workshops as well.
I do.
And could you take me through kind of a tour of what one of those looks like?
Yeah, I kind of customize them, but for the most part, like, come into a group of kids and just kind of get them talking. Depending on, like, if they know about me or not, like, or have an idea. Sometimes I'll show them other stuff that I've worked with now that I have, like, stuff to show. I'll be like, hey, I'll play some stuff, and they'll be like, I'm like, hey, so kids your age made that, and be like, whoa, and like, we're gonna make a song by the end, you know. I just try to, like, cool. But when I didn't have anything, I just started from scratch, and it was pretty fun. It was super fun. So thankful for the Columbus Urban League, who, like, kind of gave me my first shot at like a real paying gig, and that just Giselle, she's like the person in charge of the program, and she really just gave me a hand and helped me kind of find my worth and find, like, just be professional about it. And I kind of caught up, like, you know, like artists, we do the art, and then we have to, like, figure out all the other stuff that goes with it in the business and the networking and all that stuff. So she definitely gave me, like, my first big shot doing projects, and I work with them every year. And then, so yeah, I, like, have this session, and it's like, hey, so what's going on? And whatever's going on, like, I'll tell you a story. One of the craziest ones, I went to a high school. They're kind of like a second chance high school. Like, the people come in and out of shifts for high school. Some of them are, like, kind of into adulthood, or maybe I think it's up to 20 years old. And maybe some of them have kids, some of them have jobs. They wouldn't go to a regular school. They would never make it in a regular school. And they're not, they're maybe a newer school and they don't have like a lot of money for stuff, So I walked in there, and it was, for me, that's something that like I said, just like, we're gonna be doing that for the rest of my life. I'm gonna be like recentering and remembering the purpose of what I'm doing and trying to trust that, because you can get real caught up in just trying to make it, just trying to even just trying to pay rent. And then once you have that, it's like just accidentally just finding your value in like what people think. Nothing wrong with accepting praise or compliments, but just finding my identity in that. I don't want that. So like I was in a mode where I was just like, oh, I need a job. Like, okay, good. I got another gig. I'm gonna work with these kids, whatever. And I got there, and I remember like there were some people there. I think there might have been cops, and they're just like, hey, we're gonna have people coming in and out. Like, there was just a murder, and one of the suspects, one of the students.
Oh my God.
And I was just like, oh. And they're like, it's fine though, just sorry for the environment, but carry on. And it was just like, oh. And I always look for a deeper meaning to things. Sometimes I actually get a little antsy if I can't find a deeper meaning. I'm like really dramatic. So, which is like, that's not always good. But immediately I just was like, oh, I think I'm supposed to be here for like way different, like way bigger than just like simply like getting a check real quick. And I just remember getting to know those kids, staying with them, and volunteering. Most of the time there, I just volunteered. I came up there on my own time and hung out and, coached them. They had a talent show coming up, and I took me and my boyfriend at the time, we like singled out this one kid and coached him through his performance for the talent show, and he ended up winning.
That's
and
cool.
Just like, it's just such a cool, special thing. Like, I think you can't save the whole world, but you just got to believe like the ones, there's just this certain ones that stand out and just take what you get. But for the most part, that was a very strange, interchanging thing. I just kind of did whatever I thought worked. I did make a song with them, but we ended up having improv workshops, and we just made stuff. I did vocal coaching for some of the girls who were not confident in singing. But for the most part, a normal workshop would be like songwriting, music production. I open up Logic. I show them like, this is how you take a loop and cut it. We talk about the feel, like what do you want the song to be about? That will determine like the kind of sounds we use. We kind of vote on like a type of beat. I don't let them do too much, because that would like, I'm going to do that by myself. Not too many opinions. But once we have that structure, I break them off into groups and we start writing. I go visit them, and the staff, if there's staff like of the school or the program, they kind of make sure they stay on task. The kids are usually really good at staying on tasks. And then when we have enough of a song to put together, I start forming the beat a little more based on what's been written, like the timing. And then I bring in a laptop, a microphone, and we just start recording. And I just kind of coach them through recording. And then I go home and spend quite a bit of time just like moving things, making sure it sounds good, maybe a little auto-tune, just making it sound really good. And I play it on a big speaker for them. And sometimes like with the Urban Link, we actually made a music video this last time, which was
Nice.
Super fun.
That's cool.
Super fun. Man, because they really just treat me well there, and I feel like family when I go, and I can just come and go as I please. And so I'm like, I want to do a music video. You guys want to do a music video? They're like, yeah! And so I literally like just gave them each their own part. The staff ended up rapping on the song, and like just this is so cool. And we debuted it at their end of year ceremony for the staff and the families and maybe some of the funders if they were there. I don't know. And I think I see the kids transform. When I get to come back to a school and build a relationship, I see the kids transform. I remind them of, who they, like, we did a song called, with Sherwood Middle School, we did a song called, it was like, how did it go? Their theme is the Eagles, like, that's like their mascot. Gosh, I can't think of it. It's just something about being together. Like, we're soaring like the Eagles, I don't know. And then they were fighting and stuff at some point. Before we did the music video, I was like, hello. And I sung their song to them, their own song. They're like, yeah. And we ended up making a song called Love Yourself. And it was really funny because the reason I made the first song with them about being together is because they were being mean to each other. Now I remember. It was like, even though we didn't one another, it's just like, we're sisters and brothers, something like that. And it was about like overcoming bullying. And then the next year, the kids who seemed to be bullying each other, you found out like one of them had a crush, and I was just like so silly. And I think just being a part of them, being with them, I think group projects for me, and one of the purpose of doing that, it's one of those things that like are like the psychological tools that you can use. It's like bringing people together, including them, giving everybody something to do. They don't have to get on the mic. You don't even have to write. You can be just in the video. You know, just making everyone feel included. Getting people that normally, like, for one of the schools, there was this nerd kid, and he wasn't like as fly as the other kids. He was like working on a book, like he was writing a, like he was
That's cool.
Straight up nerd.
Yeah.
But man, he had bars. But the other kids, they had swag, but they was talking about honestly some pretty stupid things. I had to be like, oh, I'm glad you got that out your system now. Let's write something else. We're not gonna write about getting a bag and whatever this people lying in the streets. So I think just like what was so fun, I was like, well, he's got bars and you've got swag. I was like, instead of like making them compete with each other, you know, or shaming them, you know, just make a joke about it and be like, hey, yo, man, can you help him? Like, can you help him with his delivery? And he's like, yeah, I got you, bro. I got you. I was like, I don't know if they would ever talk, you know, but now he's like, yo, you got bars, though. I never knew. Oh, and it's just like, it's super fun, you know?
Yeah, that's great.
Hip hop brings people together.
It does.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Very true. Yeah. That's super cool. I got some nerd bars of my own. Can you take my bars and deliver them, please?
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah, you're the nerd bars. I'm the swag.
And that's why the show works, everybody.
How long is this show?
As long as you want.
As long as it
What
runs.
the heck?
We have been going for about an hour and a half.
Wow.
Damn, we didn't even take a break.
We did not. I've stopped doing that because it cuts off the flow of consciousness. So I don't like to do that. Seriously, it does.
There's the nerd bars right there.
You don't want to cut that off
You
because
sound like
we're
you're
already...
about to murk someone. I'm gonna cut off your flow of consciousness.
Nah, dude. Oh, we good, man. We good. The longest we've gone is Joseph Keith, an hour and 48 minutes.
I thought you
Let's
went longer.
Let's break the record. Just
No,
kidding.
did you go 2 hours recently?
Mm-mm. We have never hit
It's
2
so
hours.
crazy. People will literally sit and like listen and watch that though.
Yep.
Wow.
We have people that do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
It's very fun. I like doing this. It's, well, okay. I have a very long attention span.
Got
That's
it.
not very common.
But we
Yeah.
did like take little clips of like funny parts and interesting parts and like make little commercials.
I
Just,
have
like,
been wanting to
spread
do
them,
that.
Just spread them
Yes.
everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm going to have time to do that in the summer. I don't
Oh,
have
we
the
have
time
to
to
do
do that
that.
right now. Yeah.
We have to do that. We have to like, honestly, I'll probably do a little bit of it too, cause, you know,
I would
I'm
appreciate
telling you, like
so much.
I'm not going to do something unless I'm going to go all in. What the heck? So yeah, I'll probably take some little clips and like be like, nah, check out the rest of this on.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Oh, yeah.
We need like a Gab Street best of video.
Oh, that would be so cool.
Yeah.
So we have enough video episodes banked
We're
now.
up to a year. We should do season 1 Gab Street
Wow.
best of.
The only problem with that is
You
most
need
of those
lots
aren't
of
video.
hours.
Oh, that is true.
Yeah, we did audio only for a long time.
Oh well,
Alright,
that means
just
less to sort through.
Forget
Yeah,
about
that's true.
those. We'll start. What episode do we start filming again?
43 or 44.
We can go
It's
43 up until now. Everybody else, get out of here.
40, episode 43 is called Legalize All Drugs.
Yeah.
And it was just us
LSD in
two.
the water.
Yes, hashtag
Yes.
LSD in the water
Yes.
supply.
We need
Oh,
every
man.
guest to say that now.
Oh gosh.
Oh, man. Do I have anything else to cover? Let's see.
I think it was Alex who started that hashtag.
I think so. I think he did.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have Run Song Studios written down.
That is the creative workshops.
Okay, cool. I figured, but I didn't know if there was anything else you wanted to expand
It's the tag
on.
I also give, like if I do photography or videography or anything. It's just all Run Song Studios.
Go check out Run Song Studios. Quick plug.
Yeah, and it's
Please
on my
do.
website.
Awesome.
My website's kind of like 3 websites.
I noticed that. Yeah, it's really well put together.
Well, thanks.
It's very well done.
Did you use WordPress?
I use Wix.
Okay.
Wix is good. I
Wix,
love Wix. Let's have a whole episode about website building clients.
It's one of those skills you have to learn if you are an artist, even though you don't want to, unless you like want to pay someone to do it, which you probably can't because you're an artist.
That's very
So,
true. That's very
It's just
true.
one of those things you got to do.
Yep. I agree with that. Quick lesson. This isn't super duty tough work, but you just learned She just dropped a gem on you. Okay, you gotta learn about websites.
Honestly,
So,
still learning.
I guess we will just hit the last two things that we do every single episode. Where can people find you and support your work? I know we just said that, but let's say it again.
At Gab's Whole Story and www.gabriellesolange.com. You can look up my recent TED Talk. Just type TEDx Gabrielle Solange. And check out, you can follow me on Bands in Town to see when I'm playing, or you can even just go to the tour page. I would really love for people to log in and kind of subscribe to my website. I don't spam you. It just notifies you when I have a show or if I post a blog.
We also have a mailing list.
Yes, get on
I
that
get
mailing list.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So get on my mailing list. Let me tell you what I'm doing, and I love to see people at shows.
Cool.
And buy some merch. My
Yes.
Confidentity
Please do.
T-shirts and stuff.
We'll be picking up some of that for the show. I'll wear it and plug it during some
Hey.
episodes. That'll be cool. Last thing, do you have any shout outs to make before we wrap up?
Shout out to my best friend, Patricia. She's definitely my... Sometimes she acts as a friendager, like a manager. Sometimes she poses as my assistant. Sometimes she poses as my assistant so she can get in free to places and enjoy free wine, which is what she did at the Wonder Ball. And
Nice.
just she just been there for me, and we're there for each other. And then I would say shout out to just honestly anybody who gives artists like me a chance, or provides us with monetary award for the work we do and really puts a value on us. Just anybody who's just willing to do that and make space. I think as a city, we were talking about what can the city do earlier. Assign value to artists.
Mm-hmm.
I recently wrote for, I'm going to be doing something. Oh, I should say I'm doing something on International Women's Day, March 8th. I have 2 different shows, and both of them are going to be very different. I've got to create an original song for the evening one, and that's going to be interesting for sure.
Cool.
But yeah, it's just going to be very different. But for the most part, just when people... There's a hustle mode of every career. There's okay, you could be an intern, especially in creative avenues. But for some reason, being an artist that time that you are in hustle mode, it can seem never ending. And you can not I think I've seen a lot of artists burn out. Just because they don't know how to teach people to value them. Mm-hmm. And I think people and organizations, they will push and push and push and take advantage of you because they know you love what you're doing. Mm-hmm. and not consider if they truly honored and value what you did, they would assign value to it so that you can keep doing it. And I think they put that responsibility on, hopefully you'll make it. So let me get you to spend a month creating this thing for our show, for the exposure. Or there's just this illusion and these ways that people are taking advantage of that you don't find in any other industry. And they still get exposure for their work, and they get paid. You don't find that in any other industry. And I think arts are super impactful, and I just think we need to start admitting that and paying artists, honestly.
And to again phrase something in a way that investors will understand, what are you going to do without a graphic designer to brand your stuff? It's one aspect of that as well. They're an artist too.
Yeah.
And a lot of graphic designers are told to take the payment and exposure.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Yeah.
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 And I do think we got to pay our dues in the world. There should be things that we're willing to do, but I think at the same time, that whole self-worth, it's kind of a catch, because in order to create, you have to, I think earlier I said, you have to believe that there's something worth in you, getting out, right? But if the world is constantly telling you, well, it's not worth it, the caterer is worth it, this is worth it, the building is worth it, but you should just do it, mm-hmm. That can mess with you, And I think we just have to just count them in our budgets, count them as, when we can.
It's very true. Do we have any other points that we want to bring up? Any other topics? Any last minute plugs?
It's nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you
Yeah,
too.
very nice to meet you. Again, we met a couple times, but thank you for coming on the show. I much appreciate it.
Yay! Let's like make this go viral.
Yes.
We just gotta start believing that. Like with everything I do, I'm just like it's.
It's gonna go viral.
Yeah, why not? Literally, that's how things are. You just gotta believe it.
Let's make it happen.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it. Oh yeah. Thank you. I sometimes mention this on the show, but thank you for making the drive to come do this show.
Oh, thanks, Corey.
It means a lot.
Where you come from?
Worthington.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not
I
actually
was
that
like
big of a
from
drive.
Dayton.
It is.
Actually,
You're traveling here though.
But it's winter and it's Ohio. Nobody wants to drive.
Yeah.
So
So-
thank you.
and my legs hurt. Fuck you, Corey.
I drag you down here. And
You know, you ever seen the movie Get Him to the Greek?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
I feel like sometimes, like, I am Russell Brand and what's his name? The fat guy.
Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm Jonah Hill and Russell Brand at the same time because part of me is like, I woke up today at like 9:30 and I'm like, I gotta get out of bed to get to Gap Street, and then another part of me was just like, go back to sleep.
I'm glad I'm motivating force in your life.
You guys are really awesome and fun. I'm really glad that I was on your show. Thank you for
Thank
inviting
you.
me.
And thank you for also being awesome and being fun and coming on the show.
Yeah.
Check us out again next week, every Wednesday morning at 6 a.m.
And get on that mailing list, you
Get on that
losers.
mailing list. Yes, thank you. We are.
So abusive.
Thank you for listening to the show. We are happy that we are part of your morning commute or whatever. Whenever you listen to this, thank you for making us part of your daily routine or weekly routine. We won't stop. Don't worry. This is still going to go on. Tell all your friends that you believe in the city because you watch this show. Everyone who listens is a true pedestrian. And always got to rock and respect the sign.
Hey.
So let's all do a quick post.